So this is Maths Genie's predicted paper 2 for 2018's EdExcel paper, Foundation. If you want to get the actual paper, if you go to mathsgenie.co.uk, go to the resources section, and under predicted papers it's in there. Question 1, it says write down the value of the number 4 in the number 3,451, so that is 400. Question 2, Ruth buys pea potatoes and C carrots. Write an expression for the total number of potatoes and carrots Ruth buys. So total means to add up. So potatoes add carrots. Question 3, change 3 hours into minutes. Well, there are 60 minutes in an hour, so you need to do 3 times 60, and that would be 180 minutes. Question 4, it says, here is a list of numbers. From the numbers in the list, write down a prime number. So a prime number is a number that's got only 2 factors, and that's 1 and itself. So going through them, 6 is divisible by 2, 8 is, 10 is, 15 is divisible by 3 and 5, 18 is even, so that's divisible by 2, 25 is divisible by 5, so 31 is the only prime number in there. Part B, from the list of numbers, write down a square number. So a square number is where you multiply a number by itself. So 1 times 1 is 1, 2 2s are 4, 3 3s are 9, 4 4s are 16, 5 5s are 25. So 25 would be a square number. Question 5, write down all the factors of 24. So factors are numbers at times together to give that number. So 1 times 24, 2 times 12, 3 times 8, 4 times 6, and then the only number we've got to check is the number 5, because then it goes back round in a circle. So 5 doesn't go to 24. So the numbers are 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 8, 12, and 24. Question 6, it says Mason wants to buy 6 pens. Each pen costs 28 pence, and Mason pays with a £10 note. Work out how much change Mason will get from the £10 note. So we're after the change, we're not after the cost of the pens. But we do need the cost of the pens first. So 6 times 28, you can use your calculator for that, is 168. Now that would be pence. Because we're in pounds here, I'm going to convert that to pounds. So 168 pence would be £1.68, because 100 pennies in a pound. And if we do 10 take away £1.68, that will give us £8.32. Part B, when in the shop, Mason finds out that the price of the pens has been reduced. How does this affect the amount of change that he gets? Well, if they're cheaper, he's going to get more change. So he will get more change. Question 7, what fraction of the shape is shaded? So altogether, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 by 1, 2, 3, 4. So 5 times 4 is 20. So it's out of 20. And then we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and a half. So that's 7.5 or 7.5 out of 20. We can't really have a fraction with a decimal in. So I'm going to double that to become 15 out of 40. And then we should cancel that down. And they're both divisible by 5 because they both end in a 5 and a 0. So that would be 3 over 8. Question 8. It says there are 3 different options for a main course and 3 different options for dessert. List all the different combinations that could be chosen. So fish and chips I will call FC, lasagna L, vegetable puree VC, fruit salad, cheesecake and ice cream. So if we have fish and chips, we can have that with fruit salad. We can have fish and chips with cheesecake, and we can have fish and chips with ice cream. We can have the lasagna with fruit salad, lasagna with cheesecake, or lasagna with ice cream. And then we can have the vegetable puree with fruit salad, vegetable puree with cheesecake, and a vegetable puree with ice cream. So there's 9 different possible answers. Question 9, find the size of the angle marked X. Well, angles on a straight line up to 180. It's not asking for a reason, so we don't need to write that down. But that's what we're going to use. So 180 minus 41, you can use your calculator for that, is 139 degrees. Question 10, there are 924 people in a theatre, 383 are men, 356 are women, and 2/5 of the children are boys. So children are boys and girls, obviously. Work out how many girls there are. So if we find out how many children there are by doing 924 take 383, take 356. That should give you 185 children. And then 2/5 of 185, you just divide by 5 and times by 2. So divide by the bottom and times by the top, gives you 74. So 74 boys, because the 2/5 were boys. And then out of the 185 children, if 74 were boys, that would leave 111 girls. Question 11. A map has a scale of 1 centimetres to 5 kilometres. The distance between London and Dover is 60 kilometres. What is the distance between London and Dover on the map? So we need to do 60 divided by 5, which would be 12. So every 5 kilometres is worth 1 centimetre, and there are 12 fives in 60, so that would be 12 centimetres on the map. Question 12. On Monday, Matt delivered some parcels. The travel graph represents the first hour of Matt's journey. What time did Matt start his journey? So the start of the journey is just here at 9 o'clock. Be careful if you don't use a 24-hour clock. That's a 24-hour clock. It's got a 0 there. If you don't use a 24-hour clock, make sure you put AM, because that is 9 o'clock in the morning. Matt stopped to deliver a parcel. What was the distance between Matt's house and his first stop? So a stop is when we've got a horizontal line here. So that's when he first stops, which is 3 kilometres from his house. So 3 kilometres. It says Matt stopped at 10 o'clock for 30 minutes to deliver a parcel. He then returned home at a steady speed. Matt got home for 11:15. Complete the travel graph. So at 10 o'clock, which is just here, I'm going to go up to where he was. He stops for 30 minutes, so he stops till 10:30, which is to there. And he gets home by 11:15. Now 11 o'clock's there, 11:30 is there, so 11:15 is just there. And then we're going to join that up with a straight line because it's a steady speed. So because it's a steady speed, we can join that up with a straight line to there like that. Next question, question 13. It says, an area is formed by a square, ABCD, and a semicircle. BD is the diameter of the semicircle, and the radius of the semicircle is 4 metres. So the radius of this semicircle is 4 metres. The area is going to be covered completely with lawn seed, and a box of lawn seed covers 25 metres squared. How many boxes of lawn seed is needed? So we need to work out the area of this shape. Now, if the radius is 4, that means that this distance here is 4, and so is this. So altogether, the diameter of that circle would be 8, and because this is a square, that would be 8 too. So the area of this square is 8 times 8, which is 64 metres squared. And then the area of a circle is pi r squared, so pi times 4 squared, because it's the radius, and we've only got a semicircle, so we need to divide that by 2. If you put that into a calculator, you should get 25.1 metres squared. If we add those two together, so the total area would be 64, add the 25.1, which would give me 89.1 metres squared in total. So if I do 89.1 divided by 25, I get 3.56. So we're going to need 3 full boxes and then just over half of the fourth box. So we're going to need to buy 4 boxes in total. Question 14. Rotate triangle A 90 degrees clockwise about the centre 0. So the centre 0 is just here. 90 degrees clockwise is going to go around this way, so clockwise is around that direction. Now, always use tracing paper, and when you've got tracing paper, draw over your shape, put your pencil at the centre of rotation, which is the origin, and rotate it around 90 degrees is a quarter of a turn. So you should end up with your triangle being just here, like that there. Question 15. Here are the first 6 terms of a Fibonacci sequence. Write down the 8th term. So the Fibonacci sequence is where you add together the 2 previous numbers. So 1 add nothing gives you 1 again. 1 add 1 gives you 2. 1 add 2 gives you 3. 2 add 3 gives you 5. 3 add 5 gives you 8. So 5 add 8 gives you 13. And 8 add 13 gives you 21. So the answer would be 21 for the 8th term. Question 16. It says the table shows information about the number of points scored in the game. Work out the mean number of points per game. So mean is where you add up all the numbers and divide by how many there are. So there would be, this table means there are 10 zeros. So those 10 zeros, if I times those together, would add up to 0. There were 12 ones, so those 12 ones would add up to 12. There were 22s, so those 22s would add up to 40. There were 3 sevens, so those 3 sevens would add up to 21. The 4 fours would add up to 16, and the 1 5 would add up to 5. If we add all those up, we get 94. So they've scored 94 points in total. And if we add up how many games they played, add up all those, we get 54. So they played 54 games and scored 94 points in those 54 games. So we need to do 94 divided by 54, and that gives you 1.74074071. Now it doesn't ask you to round it, but I'm just for ease, I'm going to round it to 1.74. I'm going to put that's to 2 decimal places, so 1.74. Now, with this, always check that your answer is sensible. The minimum points they scored was 0, and the maximum points they scored was 5. So your answer should be somewhere between 0 and 5, and ours is, so that should be sensible. Question 17, it says, in a box there are black pens, red pens and green pens in the ratio 8, 3 to 2, and there are 18 red pens. Work out how many black and greens there are. So black to red to green is 8 to 3 to 2, and it tells us there are 18 red pens. So I can put the 18 in there. To get from 3 to 18, I need to times by 6. So I'm going to times all of these by 6 to keep the ratio equivalent. So 6 times 8 is 48, and 2 times 6 is 12. So that would mean there were 48 black pens and 12 green pens. Question 18. Brian bought a hat in France. He paid €45 and the same hat is £39.99 in England. The exchange rate is £1 is €1.12. Is the hat cheaper in France or England? Well, there's two ways you can do this. You can either convert the £39.99 into euros by times it by 1.12, which will give you £44.79. So that means that the hat in England is cheaper. So you don't need to do this, but you can do. You can convert the €45 into pounds by dividing by 1.12, which will give you £40.18. But again, you can see the hat in England is cheaper. So the hat is cheaper in England. You must write that sentence. Question 19. N is an integer. An integer means a whole number, such that minus 3 is less than 2n, which is less than 6. Write down all the possible values of n. So first of all, we've got 2n in the middle here, so I'm going to divide by 2, and I'll get minus 1.5 is less than n, which is less than 3. So n has got to be between minus 1.5 and 3, and since it's an integer, it must be a whole number. So minus 1, 0, 1, and 2. So it's got to be greater than minus 1.5. And the greatest number and the smallest number above that is minus 1. And it's got to be less than 3. So the biggest number less than 3 is 2. So minus 1, 0, 1, and 2. Question 20. Here are a list of ingredients to make 16 mince pies. And Elaine wants to make 72 mince pies. How much of each ingredient do you need? So first of all, if we do 72 divided by 16, that gives us 4.5. So we need to times each of these by 4.5 to get the amount of ingredients that we need. So if you times each of those by 4.5, butter, you would get 1,170 grams. Flour, you would get 1,687.5 grams. 562.5 and 2,700 on that. So I'm going to put those down in the answer line. 117 or 1687.5, 562.5 and 2,700. They're all in grams here, so we don't need to convert them to kilograms. It's asking for in grams. Question 21. There are only red counters, blue counters, yellow counters and black counters in a bag. The table shows a probability of picking a red and a black. The probability of picking a blue counter is twice that of picking a yellow. So it's double to get a blue counter is to get a yellow counter. So I'm going to put 2x and x just to remind me of that. Now, these should all add up to 1. So if I do 1, take away 0.22, take away 0.34, that gives me 0.44. And we've got 2 parts blue and 1 part yellow. So altogether that's 3 parts. So if we do 0.44 divided by 3, now if you do that on your calculator, that will give you a fraction. But if you prefer decimals, 0.44 divided by 3 will give you 0.146 recurring. And then we want 2 lots of that. So 2 lots of 0.146 recurring gives you 0.293 recurring. So 0.293 recurring. Now, if you left that, as your calculator said, as a fraction, you would have got 11 over 75, which is absolutely fine. And then double that, you'd have got 22 over 75. So it's actually better to leave it as a fraction, but I know a lot of you like decimals as well. So both answers are absolutely fine. 22 over 75 or 0.293 recurring. Question 2. A number y is rounded to 1 decimal place. The result is 5.8. Write down the error interval for y. Well, the smallest number that would round up to 5.8 would be 5.75. And the biggest number that would round down to 5.8 is just less than 5.85. So we can say just less than that, and it can be bigger than or equal to that. And that's the number y. So we write it as y has got to be between 5.75 and 5.85. Question 23. It takes 5 machines 6 hours to produce 1,000 DVDs. Work out how long it takes 4 machines to produce 1,000 DVDs. Now, the number 1,000 here gets a bit confusing. People think they need to use that. But 1,000 is just to show you that it's doing the same amount of work. So we can ignore the fact that it's making 1,000. So 5 machines doing 6 hours work. 5 times 6 means there's 30 hours of work being completed. And those 30 hours of work still need completing by those 4 machines. So 30 divided by 4 would give you 7.5 hours per machine. Question 24, it says, a sphere is carved from a block of wood. The sphere has a radius of 5 centimetres and the density of the wood is 0.85 grams per centimetre cubed. Now, that's a big clue about what to do. Find the mass of the sphere. So if the density is 0.85 grams per centimetre cubed, that means we need to work out the centimetres cubed and times it by 0.85 to work out the mass. So we need to work out the volume of this sphere. So we're going to use this formula here. We're not going to use that one. They will give you both for the sphere, but we're only going to use the volume. So it will be 4/3 times pi times 5 cubed, and that would give you 500 over 3 pi on your calculator. And then we can just leave the answer in, so we can just, to work out the mass, we're going to use the answer button on your calculator, just to leave that in there, times 0.85, and that will give you 445 grams to 3 significant figures like it asked for. So 445 grams. So 3 significant figures just means the first 3 digits of the number, so 445. Question 25. An artist is making orange paint by mixing red paint and yellow paint in the ratio 8:11. Use this information to draw a graph showing the relationship of red paint to yellow paint used. So obviously if we're not making 0 paint at all, we're going to use 0 of each. If we use 8, so 8 is just here, of red paint, we're going to use 11, which is just there, of the yellow paint. Now, I could keep on doing that. I could do 16 and 22 and so on, but I'm going to just go up, get one further up here by timesing both these by 5, and that will give me 40 to 55. So if I go to 40 and up to 55, I've got a mark just there. And then I'm going to join that up with a straight line. So as accurate as you possibly can through all of those. And then we can use that for what we're going to do next. So it says the artist decides to use 50 millilitres of yellow paint. So 50 mils on the yellow paint. Work out how much red. So we're going to go down here as accurate as you possibly can, and 37 mils. Now, because they will give you a little bit of accuracy marks for that, so you probably get 36, 37, 38 for that, just in case you've got a thicker pencil or you're not quite accurate enough. Question 26. It says, work out the value of x, give your answer to 1 decimal place. So in this triangle here, we've got x, which is a side that we're after, and we've got an angle, so we're going to be using trigonometry. But we need another piece of information. We need this one here. I'm going to call it y. And we can work this one out by looking at this triangle here. And in this triangle, we can use Pythagoras. So Pythagoras says that the hypotenuse squared is equal to the two smaller sides squared and added together. So rearranging that, I get y squared is equal to 20 squared, which is 400, take away 16 squared, which is 256. So y is going to be the square root of 144, which is 12. So y is 12. And then I'm going to use trigonometry. So remember SOHCAHTOA to choose which one we're going to use. Now this is the opposite, and this is the hypotenuse. So the one with the opposite and the hypotenuse in is SO. So we're going to use sin 25 is equal to the opposite, which is 12, over the hypotenuse, which is x. To rearrange that, x is going to go up here, and sin 25 is going to go back down here. So x will be 12 over sin 25, which will give us 28.4 centimetres to 1 decimal place. Question 27. The diagram shows a parallelogram. All of the angles are in degrees. Find the value of x and the value of y. Now, usually, people would jump straight to adding all of these up, knowing that that is equal to that one, and put them equal to 360. But you end up with an equation with x's and y's in, which is impossible to solve. So the first thing we need to realise is that these two are equal to each other. So I can do 3x add 10 is equal to x add 92. So take x off both sides. I get 2x plus 10 is equal to 92. So 2x is equal to 82. So x is equal to 41. Once I've got x is 41, I can use that. So put x is 41 into here. So 41 add 92 is 133. And both of these angles here should add up to 180, because these two here would also add up to 180 to give you the full 360. So 180 minus the 133 means that this angle here would be 47. So I've got 3x plus 4y's must equal 47. And we know that x is 41, so 3 lots of 41 plus 4y's will give me 47. So rearranging that, I get 4y's. 3 lots of 41 is 123. So 47 take 123 will give me minus 76. So 4y's is equal to minus 76. So 1y would be minus 76 divided by 4, which is minus 19. Now, a lot of people would think that that's wrong because you've got a negative number, but it's absolutely fine because it gives you a positive answer when you substitute the 41 and minus 19 in. So that's fine. Question 28, solve these two simultaneous equations. So you can either make the y's the same or the x's the same. I can see that I can just double the first equation to make it the same as the second equation for x's. So I'm going to double that first one and make it 4x minus 6y is equal to 8. And then I'm going to take from that the second one, 4x minus y is equal to 13. So I'm going to take these two away from each other. 4x take 4x is nothing. That was the whole point of doing it. Minus 6y's take away minus y is like minus 6 add y. So that gives me minus 5y's. And 8 take 13 will give me minus 5. So minus 5 divided by minus 5 is plus 1. So y must be plus 1. Once I've got that, I can substitute that into either of the equations. So I'm going to put it into the first one. So 2x minus 3 lots of 1 is equal to 4. So 2x minus 3 is equal to 4. So 2x is equal to 4 plus 3, which is 7. So x would be 3.5. Question 29. Write that number in standard form. I'm going to try and say it. But it's actually 56.8 million. So standard form means a number between 1 and 10. So 5.68 times 10 to the power of something. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 places I've got to move that decimal point to get it to 5.68. So we times 10 to the power of 7. Work out 9 times 10 to the 6 divided by 4 times 10 to the 5. You could put that straight into your calculator exactly like that, and it'll give you an answer of 22.5. Question 30. Charlie invests £2,500 for 3 years in a savings account. She gets 3% per annum, that means per year, compound interest. So that means that the interest will change slightly each year because you're going to get interest on your interest. How much does Charlie have at the end of 3 years? So you would do 2,500 times by 1.03 because that's 3%, and the 1 means it's an increase, to the power of 3 because we want it over 3 years. And that will give you 273182. So £2,731.82. Last question. Harry has 2 bags of counters, bag A and bag B. There are 5 red counters and 3 blue counters in bag A, 4 reds and 5 blues in bag B. Harry takes a counter at random from each bag. Complete the probability tree diagram. So in bag A, the probability of getting a red would be 5 out of 8, and probability of getting a blue would be 3 out of 8. And in the second bag, it'd be red would be 4 out of 9, and blue would be 5 out of 9, and it would be same down here, 4 out of 9 and 5 out of 9. Now it says work out the probability that Harry takes out 2 blue pens. So I want the first one to be a blue, and I want the second one to be a blue. So and both of these. So I'm going to use the AND rule. So the AND rule means you times, and the OR rule means you add. So I'm going to be using the AND rule where you times these fractions together. So I'm going to do 3/8 times 5/9. You do top times top is 15, and bottom times bottom is 72. Well, you can just do that straight on your calculator and it'll cancel it down for you. It will give you 5/24.